Tonight, President Trump addresses the nation about reopening the government.
And the former Colfax police chief speaks out about recently getting fired.
Murrow News 8 starts now.
Broadcasting studios on the campus of Washington State University. This is Murrow News 8.
Good evening, I'm Kanara Heinke.
And I'm Ryan Peerboom. Welcome to Murrow News 8.
Today, President Trump reaches a deal with Congress to open the government for 3 weeks to pay federal workers, but without a plan to fund a wall. Trump began his address to the American people by thanking them for persevering through the 35-day shutdown without 2 paychecks. He proposed all federal workers will be back paid as soon as possible. The president also wants to reach a southern border deal by February 15th with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Trump still wants to hold bipartisan talks to get a wall funded as he sees the border as a national crisis. He has not ruled out calling a national emergency, but said he would not use it. The president ended his address warning Congress he still has alternative powers and still pushes for a wall.
Former Colfax Police Chief Rick McNanny is accusing the city of Colfax of being reckless and malicious after his firing last week. Colfax Mayor Todd Vanek says he fired McNanny after a third-party investigation was complete. The report says McNanny was dishonest about following state mandates for pre-employment certification of police officers. McNanny spoke to Pullman Radio saying he's innocent.
We have to be transparent. If you don't respond, guilt is assumed. You either need to stand up and be vocal about your defense or go away. I'm not guilty. I have nothing to hide.
McNanny says he will appeal his termination to the Colfax Civil Service Commission. A pretrial is set for March 5th. Governor Jay Inslee's unemployment extension for federal workers such as the Coast Guard, Border Patrol, and FBI agents during the government shutdown has gone into effect today. Washington State is now the 5th state after California, Colorado, New Mexico, and Vermont to allow federal workers an extension to unemployment benefits or back pay as the government shutdown continues. Inslee says the extension is a short-term solution, but at least creates a financial padding. The extension also allows private agencies to help employees with flexible payment plans for utilities and health services. Eric Johnson, a sociologist from Washington State University, has discovered that the environment and politics go together, but not in the way you'd expect. Johnson's research found Democratic voters do not vote for environmental changes under a Democratic president, but will vote for change while the Republican is in office. The study also finds the government goes hand in hand with the party lines and has surprisingly been higher when Republicans come to power. As for the Trump administration, with all the climate change reports, voters, both Democrat and Republican, look at the environment as a political issue.
The previous 35-day government shutdown caused flights in New York's LaGuardia airport to officially stop due to a staff shortage. Joining us live is Zach Anders. Zach, can you tell us more on how the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport will be affected with the government reopening for the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, Canaro, with the government shutdown entering day 35, New York's one of their busiest airports, LaGuardia Airport, shut down for a number of hours this morning, and it created a ripple for air travel, ripple effect across the country. Now, a spokesperson for the FAA this morning cited an increase in sick leave among air traffic controllers as the reason why the airport ordered what's called a ground stop. All flights were halted and the airport closed to outbound traffic for several hours. The first major airport closure of this shutdown. And it appears this was the straw that broke the camel's back, as only a few moments ago, President Trump announced a plan to temporarily end the government shutdown without funding for his border wall. Trump will sign a bill to temporarily reopen the government for 3 weeks. And Canara, the closure in New York had the potential to affect airports here too. Alaska Airlines and airlines across the country were scrambling to try and find a way to mitigate all of the travel mess that started on the East Coast and was starting to make its way towards the West Coast. By the time the airport was able to get back up and running, it looks like the rest of air travel today is going to end up running fairly smoothly. Back to you.
That's Zach Anders reporting live from Pullman Moscow Regional Airport. Thank you, Zach.
When we come back, Kayla Bautista will have your Cougar Sports update.
When Murrow News 8 continues.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Kayla Bautista with your sports update. The Washington State men's basketball team traveled to Oregon State last night in hopes to get their second conference win. The Beavers started out hot in the first half, dominating the Cougs, scoring 52 points to Washington State's 36. In the second half, the Cougs caught fire as C.J. Ellaby scored all of his 21 points in the second half, but it was not enough as Oregon State beat the Cougs 90-77. Speaking of WSU men's basketball, former Coug Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors made their championship trip to Washington, D.C., but instead of meeting with the President Trump, he visited former President Barack Obama. The team's invitation to the White House following the 2017 title was revoked by President Trump after his comments on the NFL national anthem protest were criticized by the team. Washington State women's basketball takes on number 5 Oregon Ducks tonight at 7 p.m. in BZ Coliseum. The Lady Cougs have had a tough schedule this past week that started off with a matchup last Sunday against the number 5 Stanford Cardinals, ending in a loss. After tonight's tough game against number 5 Oregon, the Cougs will welcome the number 9 Oregon State Beavers on Sunday to Pullman. Former WSU quarterback Gardner Minshew and offensive lineman Andre Dillard have been practicing in Mobile, Alabama over the past week. The two are ready to showcase their skills at 3:30 tomorrow in the Senior Bowl against the country's best college football talent. Don't leave just yet, because we have a story that will truly be out of this world.
And we have a heartbreaking story for all you Valentine's Day candy lovers.
And I'll have your weekend weather coming up right after the break when Murrow News 8 continues.
Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Hopefully your weekend plans don't include sun tanning. Here's Ryan Peerboom with the weekend weather.
So as you saw in Zach's shot earlier, there's still a lot of fog in the forecast for the next few days. As you can see today, the weather is going to be hovering right around 40 degrees. It'll eventually get a little bit warmer as the week goes on. If you look at tomorrow, then we'll get a little bit warmer at 42 degrees with winds up to 12 miles an hour. And we'll take a look at the state map now. And as you can see on the western part of the state, Olympia and Seattle, there's going to be some warmer weather, and that's going to move into Yakima and the Tri-Cities, but it's going to stay colder here on the east side of the state in Spokane and Pullman. And now we'll look at the 5-day forecast. And on Friday, it's going to be cloudy, and then it's going to warm up, and finally we're going to see some sun break around Tuesday. And I'll send it back to you, Canara, at the desk.
Tonight, the WSU Planetarium hosts Skies of 2019, an interactive experience. Guy Worthy, Associate Professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy, will use the 4K resolution sky projector to take students on a tour through space. Worthy will display all significant cosmic events in 2019. The shows are January 25th at 7 p.m. and January 27th at 5 p.m. in the planetarium on the second floor of Sloan Hall. Tickets are $5. Washington State University will honor NPR host and special correspondent Melissa Block with the Murrow Award. The Murrow Award honors lifetime and distinguished achievements in journalism for journalists who have a commitment to excellence that exemplifies the career of Edward R. Murrow. Block will come to WSU in April to deliver a keynote address during the Murrow College of Communications Murrow Symposium.
This year, Valentine's Day is losing a 153-year tradition. After candy company Necco's bankruptcy, lovers go without Sweethearts candy for the first time since 1866. There's hope for fans of the chalky, colorful candy as Spangler acquired the rights to produce Sweethearts in 2020. But for this year, candy fans must find a new way to profess their love to each other.
After the break, the U.S. Department of Education asks for WSU's comments on Title IX.
And WSU's First Lady is honored with a new position on campus.
We'll be right back on Murrow News 8.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
The U.S. Department of Education is reviewing Title IX and allowing the WSU community to submit their comments on the proposed revisions. These revisions include defining sexual assault and identifying the conditions of how and when a school must respond to those allegations. All comments on the revisions must be submitted to the Office for Equal Opportunities website by January 28th.
Noelle Schultz is the new Edmund Schweitzer Chair in Power Apparatus and Systems in the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at WSU. Schultz has over 26 years of teaching experience and is also WSU's First Lady. The endowed chair was established thanks to gifts from Beatrice and Ed Schweitzer, an SEL based in Pullman.
Zeppos, Wild at Art in Moscow, and Play Live Nation hosts a fundraiser tomorrow to support suicide prevention and reducing the stigma of mental illness. The event is being called Get Out and Play and will be hosted by the Active Minds chapter at the University of Idaho and the Palouse Advocacy League. A portion of the sales will support local groups.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great evening, and don't forget to follow Murrow News 8 on Facebook and Twitter.
Good night, Pullman.